The Roadie Strength Podcast is brought to you by Strength and Sport Physical Therapy for all your PT, recovery, and performance needs. We help you get back on the field, back in the gym, and back to a healthy and active life. What's our three-step process? Well, number one, we want to diagnose the cause of the injury. Number two, we want to make progress towards your goal. Number three, we want to push performance and prevent it from happening again. What's our history? Well, we were founded in 2017 within a CrossFit gym, Spartan 360, in Middletown, Rhode Island, with a dream to create a PT clinic that revolves around fitness. Since then, we've expanded to two separate locations in Rhode Island, Portsmouth and Providence. We hope to continue to serve Rhode Island and the greater community for many years to come. Our big goal is we want to help you get back to the activities you love. What's our edge? Why are we cut above the rest? Well, we provide one-on-one attention every sessions with a doctor of PT. This helps you get the most out of your rehab. We provide a variety of techniques, whether it's dry needling, cupping, exercise, correctives, and we base our rehab basically on the most up-to-date research, whatever is evidence-based. And we specialize in athletics. We walk the walk of fitness and sport. We have certifications including the CrossFit Level 2, USAW, CSCS, SCS, we do bike fitting, we do running analysis, concussion rehab, dry needling. Really, we want to build a better you. Get in touch, give us a call or text 401-239-2784. You can give us an email, matt@strengthandsportpt.com. Follow us on Instagram @strengthandsport. Check us out online, www.strengthandsportpt.com. The Road to Strength Podcast is now brought to you by Rob Levine, the heavy hitter. We've been really happy to have them jump on as a sponsor. I personally used them this past year. My wife was in a car accident, and they were able to help us along every step of the way through getting properly compensated, making sure we weren't getting taken advantage of by the car insurance companies, and helping through with medical payments. So if you've been in a car accident, it's definitely worthwhile. Just pick up the phone and see how they can help. The Road to Strength Podcast is now brought to you by Perform Better. So you may know them initially from their bands, the mini bands, the loop bands, super bands. Just a really high quality rubber. They last a long time. They stretch really nicely, not like some of the cheapo ones. They're a local Rhode Island company. They're on the East Greenwich and West Warwick line, which is super cool. But they have reached national and international recognition. This company's been around for a long time. And they're just really known for having high quality gear, high quality equipment, outstanding customer service. Something breaks, they're willing to work with you, send it back, fix it, and just being really knowledgeable about their craft. They've been in the game for a long time. They do a lot of facility design, for the high schools, colleges, but they really work a lot with the pro teams, NBA, MLB, NHL, NFL. They have really good relationships with a lot of these teams. They do a lot of custom build-outs for their facilities, custom build-outs for their gyms, dumbbells, platforms, putting the custom logos in there, you name it. So some really cool stuff they're doing on that front. As far as education goes, they do a lot of courses. So whether online or in person, they have some of the top level courses in the strength and conditioning industry. And their Perform Better Summit, where you can actually go in there and listen to some of the top people in the industry and actually talk with them after the lectures, which is so cool, which you can't really get some of the online stuff. But the education, they do really, really well. And the company's just great. It's, I've met a lot of people there. They're tight-knit. They're good people. So check them out, performbetter.com, and on Instagram @performbetter. The Road to Strength Podcast is now sponsored by Soul Friend Yoga. Find them online at soulfriendyoga.com, on Instagram @soulfriendyoga. They're a locally based Rhode Island company over in Bristol. They also have a beautiful online presence. You can take a look at all their apparel, all their yoga mats online. Really nice website. And their materials and quality are top notch. Me and my wife both have a yoga mat from them. My wife has a lot of their apparel, the yoga pants, the tops, the accessories. Great company, great people. Definitely check them out either in person, online. Give them a follow. Soul Friend Yoga. What's going on, guys? Dr. Matt here, host of the Road to Strength Podcast. We're on with Conor today. What's going on, Conor?
Hey, how you doing? How you guys doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good, man. Thanks for being on. Thanks for being on the podcast.
No, I appreciate it. This is awesome. I love the work that you're doing. So I'm just happy we get a chance to sit down and chat.
Thanks, man. So I'm going to give you the people a brief introduction about who you are and what you've been doing, and definitely feel free to interject and correct me on some of these things. But so you run the Cognitive Edge Consulting. You're a mental performance coach. You have masters in psychology, ex Division One and professional tennis player, and you offer one-on-one coaching for tennis athletes and all types of athletes. Did I get that right for the most part?
You got that right. Yeah, I do absolutely. My focus is tennis just because I'm a tennis player, but I do absolutely any athletes.
Beautiful. Love it. All right, so we'll start this off with just a couple rapid fire questions, and I definitely want to get into your background and how you got into that. So
Let's
rapid
do it.
fire is first thing is, do you have a favorite court or a favorite place to play tennis?
I got the privilege to play on center court at Indian Wells, which was pretty epic. Right before I was coaching these two doubles teams, they got to the semifinals of what was this, a year ago at Indian Wells, and I got to play on the court, warm up on the court, and just it was absolutely epic. So absolutely favorite place to play.
So my tennis knowledge is not great, so you have to explain Indian Wells. What is that?
So
I'm
in
sorry if I don't if it's
No, it's all good. I just spit it out like because that is just always on my brain. Indian Wells is a ATP. It's called the Masters 1000. So it is the fifth best tournament in the entire world. Out of the majors, everybody's heard of U.S. Open, Wimbledon, French Open just happened, and then Australian Open. So the four slams, and then right behind that is like three Masters tournaments, and this is the one that's in Palm Springs in California.
Oh, cool. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. And you said you played there last year?
I had a year and a half ago, what was that? I guess 2 years ago, not this previous one. A year and a half ago, I was helping coaching these two pro doubles guys that made it to the semifinals.
Cool.
And since I'm still a player, I'm only 31, even though my body feels old, I still got to hit with these guys. And, they made it to the semifinals where they played on center court, which is a massive stadium, maybe holds like 20,000 people. And I had the privilege to play, to practice, to just hit around, have some fun on the court right before the match. So people are sitting there. Oh, the echo, it was just unbelievable. I still think about it all the time.
That's super cool. So like the analogy might be like getting to uh warm up on like Gillette Stadium, like the Patriots. Like
Yeah, it's like
yeah,
it
yeah,
might not be as maybe Gillette. I was gonna say it's not as big as the Michigan Stadium. The
of
Michigan
course.
it's not as big as that. That would be US Open, but it's one step below that. So it's a big stadium. If I could even try to hit a ball out of the stadium, I probably couldn't even do it. So it was epic.
That's cool. Next question I got for you, rapid fire, is do you have a favorite ball, like a branded tennis ball?
I do. So I have the Wilson US Open Heavy Duty. This is your bread and butter match ball that everybody uses. It's
Cool.
a little bit on the pricier side, so a lot of people might not practice with it, but it holds its fluff, it holds its durability and its air so well. And I'm a big hitter, so it stays and it flies through the air, so I love it.
That's cool. Do you practice on those same balls too?
When I am practicing, when I'm training, I'll get a couple of cans just for myself. I don't naturally train with those with my students that I play on court just because they get so expensive. So I get one step below. But if
Cool.
they have matches, I grab extra ones. I have them train with it. It is, it's funny. People don't think balls make a difference, but it's like almost like a golf ball where you hear golfers talk about different balls, how different it is, and it makes a big difference. It's the same thing with tennis players.
That's the analogy I was like, I'm curious because you hear about like, oh, I want the Pro V1s versus the
Yep.
oh, that ball's junk. I'm
Yep.
too much of a beginner to know the difference between the one, but I'm like just curious if there was a similar in the tennis world. Uh,
Yeah, it's like if you get the balls from like a noodle or like or something like that from Costco, and you're like as like a high handicap, I don't know the difference.
yeah.
But if you gave a noodle to Rory McIlroy or Scotty Scheffler, they'd be like, this ball's awful.
Love that. Next question is a little different. Favorite recent book or if you're more of an audiobook or a podcast listener, recent podcast.
So book, I'm not big of a pleasure reader. Always reading for my work, so I'm always reading textbooks. But when it comes to podcasts, I'm a big F1 guy.
Cool.
So I listen to this one podcast. It's called the P1 Podcast with Matt and Tommy, and I listen to them on my drive around San Diego and everything like that. I'm always listening to it. They're hilarious.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So the F1, like the car racing F1, yeah?
The car racing. Yep, yep. I am. addicted. I love it so much.
Really?
I'll wake up at 3 a.m. because in San Diego, some of the races are in Europe. And I'll
Cool.
wake up 3 a.m., cup of coffee in my hand, and just sit and watch on the couch at 3 a.m. by myself. I
No
love it.
way.
I love it.
That's awesome. They had an event in Vegas. Am I wrong on that, or LA or?
They have recently over the past 3 years, maybe 4 years, they just came out with a race in Vegas.
Yeah,
And it's I would love to go. I don't have the funds to afford to go, but
I see.
yeah, they have one in Vegas. God, I think it's in November, October, sometime that time.
Sure, sure, cool. Next one is favorite Instagram accounts, and I kind of put this up in the air as far as like, is it something that you like more like work related, like tennis related, motivational related, like work mindset, or even just something that's like cool or funny that you like to see?
You know what's fun? I actually really like Puberty. It's like
Sure.
the big Instagram account. It has a little bit of everything, just like funny news or maybe a funny account, but I get sucked down the rabbit holes of like a history or
Mm.
something that's going on that they put where it's like some like Earth thing or like the scale of Earth compared to the universe, and I find myself just scrolling through that and staring at it. So I love that stuff.
Yeah, I'm the same. Honestly, I like to see like some local lore or some local like
Yeah.
history. Oh, this stone wall. This is the history behind how the border of Rhode Island was formed. I'm like, oh, this is so
Yeah.
interesting. Yes.
It's so cool.
Yeah, yeah. Some next question I got somewhere where you've traveled recently.
I got the pleasure. I officiated my best friend's wedding, and he got married in oh God, what lake was it? It was Lake Garda in Italy.
Cool,
It
cool.
was a beautiful wedding. It was unbelievable. I've only traveled out of the country to Europe once before that. I actually went to an F1 race in Barcelona 2 years ago. And
Cool.
then the only time I went after that was over this summer, this past summer. I went to Italy and did a whole trip, went to Rome, Florence, Tuscany. It was an unbelievable trip. So that was probably my favorite.
That's awesome. Very cool. Next question, we got favorite footwear. This could be what you're using on the court, like tennis shoe, or just maybe like your workout shoe or regular shoe.
So as a tennis shoe, I love Yonex. I'm sponsored by Yonex. So Yonex is absolutely my favorite thing in the world. The rackets, the shoes, they're unbelievable. And when it comes to gym footwear, I actually just bought these Vans Ultra Range 2.0s.
Nice.
And they are like I used to do a ton of CrossFit and everything like that. So they are like your CrossFit hybrid lifting slash running shoe, and they're unbelievable.
You know what's funny about that is the Vans are a perfect CrossFit shoe, but
Yeah,
never, to my knowledge, have any affiliation with CrossFit. But
I know.
you'll see a lot of CrossFitters that are like in the know wearing those shoes.
They're unbelievable because when I was doing a ton of CrossFit, I used to work at this place called CrossFit Sanitas in Boulder, where
Cool.
the owner of my gym ended up becoming the owner of CrossFit itself. His name was Eric Rosa.
No
And
way.
and I used to work there. I used to be friends with Eric Rosa. We used to hang out. But when I was doing a ton of CrossFit, I was using Nobles. I was using the oh, what were the other ones? I forgot the other ones. I used to use the Nike Metcons. And then, I stopped CrossFit and I was just running and going to the gym, but I was like, I can't keep squatting in running shoes. So I needed some sort of mixed shoe. So I got the Vans and I absolutely love them.
Yeah, the Vans are like if you see someone doing some CrossFit and wearing some Vans, you're like, all right, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. Exactly. They can crush Fran.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's cool. And I'm blown away that was Eric Rosa the coach there, you said?
Eric Rosa was the owner of the gym in
Oh,
Boulder.
okay.
And then he was a really wealthy guy. I mean, he wasn't he made his wealth over tech companies.
Gotcha.
But he was in love with CrossFit, started the gym, and then when I forgot the owner of CrossFit years and years ago, maybe this was before COVID, unfortunately had to sell CrossFit. I
Yeah.
think there was some scandal or something like that. And then Eric Rosa bought it for maybe took over for maybe like 3 or 4 years, and then it
Yeah.
just recently changed.
That's insane you went to the gym that he owned and you're friends with him.
Yeah,
That's
he was
so
he was a fit dude too. Like
I
I
bet.
remember trying to do Murph with him, and he's like, I think at the time he was in his like late 40s, early 50s, and I was 24, fresh out of college, was still like an athlete, and I'm struggling trying to keep up with this guy.
That's absolutely wild. I would not have expected that you would have told me that. That's
Yeah.
very very. All right. Next question. We got a favorite sports team. Or if you're more of an individual sports guy, favorite maybe favorite F1 driver.
Okay, so favorite F1 team, Mercedes F1 team, and then specifically George Russell. That's my boy.
All right.
Um, but obviously, favorite tennis player has got to be Roger Federer,
Cool.
easily Roger Federer. And then recently, obviously, with the World Cup going, I got to root for my boys. I got to root for the USA. And then my mom is also, I'm half Colombian. My mom is fully Colombian, so I'm rooting for Colombia as well.
Very nice. Oh, awesome. How have they done so far?
Colombia's doing really well. They clinched, so they're into the round of 32. And then the US obviously is doing unbelievable this year, and
Yeah.
they're already clinched and they're playing tonight. So I'm stoked to watch that.
Oh, that's awesome. What
Yeah.
what time for you guys tonight is that?
I think coverage begins at 6 p.m. Pacific time, so 9 p.m. East Coast time.
Gotcha. Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Um, that's cool. Roger Federer, I feel like I saw a headline that he's gonna be visiting the Hall of Fame this summer. I could be
He
wrong on
is
that.
going to be visiting the Hall of
Yes,
Fame.
I
Yep.
I knew
Yep.
I was like somebody I
There
thought it
you
was
go.
him. Yes, all right.
No,
Oh,
he is visiting the Hall of Fame. I would love to come out and maybe meet him and all that stuff, but I mean, I'm not important enough to meet Roger Federer. But maybe one day. That'd be
sure,
a dream.
sure. Oh, that's cool. All right, awesome. So great job on those questions. Really interesting. I still can't believe the Eric Rhodes reference there. So kind of want to get into your background, starting with how did you get into tennis?
So I'm the youngest of three brothers, and I was a kid that played absolutely every sport. I played basketball, soccer, baseball. I even was on the Olympic development team for luge, which is a crazy story of its
Oh way.
which is nuts. Yeah, I when I was a kid, I was doing the craziest stuff. I would skateboard, do backflips on skis, and my dad saw like a poster on Long Island where I grew up, and it was like street luge, sign up your kid. And my dad was just like, "Yeah, Connor would love this." So I ended up doing it. We not knowing that it was a tryout camp for the Olympic team as a kid.
Wow.
And I ended up getting the call up, went to Lake Placid 5 times when I was
Hey.
12. And I was training and I got selected. Me and one other guy got selected to become on the Olympic development team. And unfortunately, once my mom saw me fly down the track at 65 miles an hour at 12, she goes, "Nope, you're done." So
Crazy sport.
so yeah, it was a crazy sport, and I got to give props. His name is Tucker West. He's the guy that got selected with me, and he's an Olympian. So
Oh
good
my
for him.
God. Wow. That's
Yeah,
actually we watched the Winter Olympics this year and as with my friends and that's one of those sports you just ask your buddies you're like how do you even get into something like this and
like
you just explain the story which is crazy.
just absolutely randomly. So I've done a ton of sports, but tennis. My older brothers play tennis, and I don't know if you have siblings or anything, but being the youngest, you got to be better than them at
Yeah.
everything. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to play tennis just to be better than them. It started out of spite, and then it turned into love.
Nice. All right. Like many things.
Exactly.
The reasons you get into it might not be the reasons you stay into it, but
Exactly.
that's cool. That's cool. So obviously it stuck because you played for a while and you did pretty well with it. So you I guess the next step is you got into you played at college?
Yeah, I played college. I got recruited in 10th grade. I got recruited to the College of William and Mary down in Virginia,
Cool.
which was D1. Ended up playing there for a very short stint because just found out the school wasn't right for me. I think a lot of athletes, and maybe we'll get into this later, but a lot of athletes that experience the junior life in sports and then they finally get to college sports. It's a completely different lifestyle.
Mm.
And maybe back then I didn't have the maturity or the understanding of what it took. So ended up playing there for a little bit and then went home and played some professional tennis. Um, and then eventually landed my way in Boulder, Colorado, and unfortunately, they didn't have a men's team, so I became a coach for the women's D1 team and enjoyed my life, continued to play tournaments. And then yeah, that kind of started my whole coaching career. And then yeah, the rest is history.
So you went, did you go to, was it the University of Boulder?
University of Colorado Boulder.
University of Colorado, cool. And
Yeah.
you were coaching there. Were you enrolled in school there as well, or were you just
I,
coaching?
no, I was enrolled in school there, so I graduated from Boulder.
Cool.
And while I was there, I got my degree in in psychology, my bachelor's in psychology. But I still played here and there, and I always like to tell this story. I almost when I was transferring schools, I got a call from UCLA, and the coach called me up, and he goes, "Hey, like heard you're transferring. Would love to have you come out and try out for the team." And at the time, UCLA was like number one in the country. So I was
Wow.
like, "Oh, this is awesome! Like I gotta try this out." Played on the team, practiced with the team, played a couple guys. Would have ended up number six on the team out of 12 guys, so kind of right down the middle.
Yeah.
And the coach comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, Connor, I'm really sorry, but we won't be able to take you. We can only take one more guy for this year,
Mm.
and we wanted somebody to play one or two." And I go, "Hey, I totally get it." And it ended up being this guy, Taylor Fritz, who is top 10 in the world right now.
Wow.
And Taylor Fritz ended up that year uncommitting because he went straight to pro. So they saved the spot for him that I didn't get, and then he ended up going pro. So it's just a funny thing. I got to meet Taylor Fritz at Indian Wells, and I spoke to him, told him the story. He was like, "Damn, I'm really sorry." So it was a really funny turnaround.
So you keep bumping shoulder to shoulder with I mean, which makes sense because you are a great athlete, but like really from, I mean, from Eric Rosa to like Olympic luge, like you're just hanging out with Olympians at all times. So,
I don't know what's going on. I am just that guy that just finds himself at the right place at the right time.
that's cool.
Maybe in a different life I could be joining them, but yeah, no, I'm just in the right place at the right time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I may have missed this, but the guy who introduced us was Parsa.
Yes.
How did you meet Parsa? Because he played at Bryant, I'm pretty sure, right, for tennis?
Yeah, he played at Bryant. The way we met was about a couple years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, in the USTA, so in the US Tennis Association. This is not like professional tennis. A lot of pros, lower pros might play some of these tournaments, but
Right.
it's usually just national tournaments for American players. And in the men's division, so anybody can play it, anybody from, somebody that's played for 50 years that wants to play tournaments to college kids or juniors. You
Cool.
play this open division, and every year they hold four big tournaments, national tournaments, kind of like the pros have Wimbledon, have US Open and stuff like that. They hold this for kind of the top non-pro players. And me and my buddy from Long Island were like, you know what, why don't we play these? And we ended up playing a couple of them, and I ran into Parsa, and he's a great guy. He knows how to chat, knows how to talk. He's a good guy. So we ended up just becoming buddies, and we've stayed in touch.
That's super cool. That's super
Yeah.
cool. There, all right, awesome. I was wondering when that connection, when I was gonna make that mental connection. I'm like, wait,
Yep.
where does Bryant University fit into all this? But it doesn't. So okay.
No, 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 no. We met only 4 or 5 years ago, so a little bit later in life.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So I have a couple questions kind of based on that, but I want to kind of skip ahead so played college, played pro,
Mhm.
coached at for D1 at University of Colorado Boulder. What brought you to, and it sounds like you were already kind of getting into this as you were in college, was that psychology piece of it? So what seemed to draw you towards that?
So throughout my whole junior career and professional career, I was always a hothead on the court.
Hmm.
Absolutely always a hothead on the court, and a lot of people, a lot of players struggle in it. And this is kind of like the solo sport athletes where everything's kind of riding on you and there's so much pressure. So I always struggled with it.
Sure.
So when I got into more of the coaching side rather than the playing side, I noticed a lot of the problems and the troubles that athletes face, just like me. So
Hmm.
since I wasn't playing, I wanted to devote my career, my life to helping athletes, let's say, not make the same mistakes I did when
Hmm.
I was younger. So once I got to college and I started studying psychology, I knew that that was the route that I wanted to go, was the mental health of athletes and really the mental health of absolutely everybody. And we'll get into that. But yeah, it's kind of how it started was just like, hey, I struggled on court. I unfortunately didn't get to see a mental performance coach or a sports psychologist when I was younger. And I think nowadays it's becoming more prevalent that people are seeing mental health as less of a stigma and more as a key skill to work on
Yeah.
for athletics. And I just want to ride the wave and I just want to help as many people as I can. So it's kind of how I got into it from that side.
That's awesome. So you kind of was like you were like, all right, let me provide this much needed service for people in some ways because I wish I had it. Or you wish, yeah.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
I wish I had somebody to talk to when I was flipping out on court and I was losing my mind and throwing my racket. And I'm like, I'm so much of a better player than this, but I just couldn't mentally put it together. And, so it was just, I just saw it with so many other athletes. I just wanted to help.
So I have not seen a lot of tennis, but I did get the opportunity to see some tennis this past summer at the Hall of Fame in Newport, and it was like I forget what it was like a not a huge tournament, but it was a tournament that they were holding
Mhm.
there. Men, women, doubles, singles. I saw some matches, but maybe it's the Hall of Fame, but I feel like I a lot of the matches I was seeing, everyone seemed pretty like reserved and everything like that. But how common is it? I mean, and probably even from a college perspective too, like to be that hot-headed type player where you're like throwing your racket and stuff like that.
It's funny. I think it's more common than people realize where tennis players we've become so conditioned to hold it in because we don't want to let our opponent know that we're upset,
Mm,
right? I always equate tennis when I'm talking to my athletes, I'm always equating tennis to like a boxing match.
mhm.
Now, we're not punching each other, we're not getting physical, but the mental battle of seeing your opponent struggle and seeing that you're in their head or that they're upset is like a little cue, is like it lights the fire under them to be like, all right, let me push harder. I
Yeah,
have the momentum now. Let me do this more. So tennis players have gotten really good at not showing it, but on the inside, it's an explosion. They're
sure.
upset that they missed a ball. They think they should be winning. Something's bothering them externally on the court, the wind, something else, but they can't show it. But I'm going to tell you right now, they're all definitely feeling it.
There was a clip just recently. I'm gonna not know who was in it, but let me just say it anyway. There's a clip, I think it was like this week or last week of these two tennis players like and the ref literally had to separate them. I think it was
Yep.
did you see that? Did you see that? Do you know
I
what?
didn't see it, but I assumed, was it a grass court?
I think it was, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of grass court tournaments. I assume, and I'm just going to say this right now, I guarantee he probably won't hear me say this, but his name is Nick Kyrgios. He's like this really famous Australian tennis player, and he is notoriously for being a hothead and just egging people on and starting drama. So my guess is that it was him.
And yeah, the ref like had to like separate them. Like it
Yeah.
was, yeah, it was like, oh geez, like this is
Yeah.
intense.
It's
Um,
intense. It gets really hot-headed. It gets really, really dramatic.
yeah, and then like the classic example, even for like casual tennis fans, is like Johnny McEnroe. He's
Yep.
world class, but the same thing, like the definition of a hothead. From,
Yeah, definition, you hear it all the time, like when he's screaming, you can't be serious, and he's screaming and he's like yelling at everybody. Oh yeah, that's like the classic example of a hothead in tennis.
fair, fair. Um, so to get into the mental performance coaching a little bit, so I have some like specific questions on you on along those lines for like one like well let me ask you this first, but I don't want to skip ahead. So you're getting into that in college, diving into that like learning how to work with psychology. Was the goal always to create your own brand after that, to create your own coaching?
You know what? It actually wasn't in the beginning. So originally, I got my first master's in clinical psychology, where I worked as a therapist because I was like, you know what? Sports psychology wasn't big even a couple of years ago. There wasn't a lot of degrees. So I got it in clinical psychology, where I worked as a psychologist. But I always knew I wanted to work with athletes, and I actually, before even all this, I wanted to work with the military. I wanted to work with Navy SEALs. I wanted to work with Air Force pilots, and they have a lot of resources and they're starting to do a lot of resources in the mental performance space, not even just the clinical space. We hear all the time that veterans are struggling with PTSD, and that's an issue of itself. But now, the Department of Defense is investing a lot of money into mental performance. So for missions, like Navy SEALs go to somebody like me to train before a mission. And that was really my goal once I got my master's, I was like, I want to work in the military space. I want to go there. I actually almost joined the military 2 years ago. I was going to
Oh,
join it and be an officer. And I didn't because I started my own business, but
right.
originally it was going to be with the military, but I was like, you know what? I know tennis. I know everything. I know athletes. Like I want to help them. I want to do all that stuff. So I started my practice a year ago and never looked back, and I'm so happy.
That's awesome. Very cool. And we talked about it a little bit earlier too, but your ideal client is t tennis players, I'd assume, but all types of athletes and even beyond athletes as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, tennis athletes right now, because that's where I start, right? If, it's like anybody in life, if they're seeking some sort of service, it's way better to hear from somebody that's experienced absolutely everything that you're experiencing.
Yeah.
So when a tennis player comes up to me and they say, "Oh, I lost this match. My parents were watching, my coach was watching, or I lost to somebody that I should have beaten," I'm like, I know exactly how you're feeling. So it makes a big difference just having that kind of shared experiences.
Yeah.
But it's not the skills that I teach are not just applicable to tennis. They're applicable really to absolutely anybody, any professionals, any athletes, any profession itself. So it starts as tennis just because that's my niche and that's what I'm good at, but it's expandable to absolutely anything.
Very cool. Awesome. And kind of getting into that, like with your own business and what the clients you're seeing, are there any, I'm sure there are some like common things that people call you to be like, hey, I'm dealing with this, I need help, or I'm dealing with that and I need help. Do you have see any common recurring or the most common struggles that people deal with?
I think the most common struggle that people deal with, especially right now, is this whole UTR. It's called the Universal Tennis Rating. And it's basically like a rating. It's a number that rates how good you are based on how other people play. So the most common thing I hear is that these kids are struggling, staring at this number, going, "Oh, Joey's a 5.0. I'm a 6.5, so I'm better than him. I should never lose." And they get into this
Huh.
mental battle where I always joke around where I'm like, all right, if you really think you're a 6.5, why don't you get a post-it note, write 6.5, put it on your forehead and walk around because you don't have an identity anymore. Your identity is a number. So that's probably the biggest one that I hear about is this external motivation, this external factor of rankings and ratings and all that stuff rather than the tennis itself.
Man, that's tough. I mean, I guess in golf you have your handicaps, but like that's a pretty like solid number of like this is what I am. That's I could see people struggle with separating themselves from that.
Oh, yeah, and it's all the time. And then you start hearing the parents talk about it where they're like, oh, like, Sally's a 6.5 and her friend Haley is a 6.0. So Sally should win this match. So why'd she lose? And I'm talking to the mom and I'm saying the ratings don't matter. I mean, your daughter just could have had a bad day that on court that day, and the other girl could have just played well. The ratings don't matter as long as they're close or even somewhat close. It doesn't matter. If I walk on court and I play Carlos Alcaraz or Roger Federer, yeah, I'm going to lose. But but if
Right.
it's somebody close to me, I can beat somebody better, or I can lose to somebody that's worse than me. It just
Oh,
happens.
sure.
Yeah.
100%. Are there any do you have any like quick tips or quick strategies on like how to I know it's not probably quick fix isn't the isn't the idea, but and any strategies I guess you have to help kids or people in general like separate themselves from that?
I always tell people first, delete the app. Never look at the rankings. Never look at the ratings. That's number one. That's the easiest thing to do. But number two is to have kind of a more of a present mindset. So when you walk on court, you're watching somebody play, analyze a little bit more of how they look on court and mainly their confidence. So you're kind of like sizing somebody up a little bit more mentally. So what that means is that you're putting your mindset more in a present state rather than a future or past state. Instead of, saying, I'm a certain rating, I'm better than this person. It's who am I today? Who
Mhm.
are they today? What do I expect from today's match? And what do I expect from myself right now? Rather than the data points that people stare at all day long to say what should happen.
Sure, sure. That makes a lot of sense. Like
Yeah.
step into it, clear your mind. This is the present. Just play your best
Yeah,
instead of worrying about the history of the ratings and everything. Yeah,
exactly.
um, kind of along the same line. And your Instagram is fantastic. What's your Instagram handle?
It's Cognitive Edge Consulting.
Yeah, so was checking it out obviously before this, and I love how your Instagram is so like here's a tip. here's a tip, here's a tip, just quick actionable items on like how to get better with mental performance or tennis or it's fantastic. So a couple of these I want to break down.
Yeah.
One of the ones that you had mentioned was how do you deal with an immediate poor performance during a game, like a bad shot or a bad few points?
Yeah, I mean that one we all deal with all the time as a tennis player because you're always going to make mistakes. The first thing that people do that I always tell people to do is to take a mindful breath, right? In tennis, you only have to win 51% of the points. That's it. You don't have to win 6-0, 6-0. You don't have to win 100% of the points. You got to win 51%. So on any given day, you are going to miss, you're going to lose almost half the points. So it's common. So take a mindful breath and then stick to routines. So I teach my athletes routines all the time, whether that's going to the fence, going to the towel, fixing your strings, maybe some box breathing, maybe some mindfulness really fast to let that thought of that mistake go. And then more importantly, I tell all my athletes to recommit to something. So a focus cue, meaning, all right, I didn't use my legs. So this point, I'm going to use my legs. You kind of have a focus every single point rather than a focus over the grand scheme of the match.
Mm,
Because we can't, as human beings, and especially with technology, our attention span is so finite
mm.
that every single point has to have a different focus cue. So, okay, I'm going to use my legs this point. Okay, that worked. Okay, let me move my feet faster this point. Okay, let me swing faster this point. Giving yourself different ones every single point to focus on. So I kind of gamify tennis, saying, let's see if you can pay attention and stay attention for this one point on this one cue, see how it works, change the cue the next point. So that you're constantly not fixating on one point for 2 hours long and then you forget the whole purpose.
Fair, fair. So you're almost having like a rotating, like, all right, let me try this cue. All right, that's not seeming to work. Let me switch it up. Let me try this. All right, let's switch it up. Or kind of you're kind of like a rotating few things. Your has focus points that you can work through.
Exactly. You're rotating like focus cues that we have established what works for them, right? What might work for you, might not work for me,
Mm,
but a few focus cues that you can kind of rotate through. Because if I tell myself to use my legs the entire match, I
mm,
might be completely forgetting about another aspect that I need to be doing,
sure.
or I might get so ingrained in that it becomes second nature a little too much, where we
Mm.
don't even notice if we're doing it correctly. We just think we're doing it.
I could see also athletes getting frustrated, like if they're keeping themselves that same cue, but nothing's changing.
Exactly.
What's
So
going on?
you got to change. It's like you're going crazy.
Yeah.
It's like insanity. So you got to change it up constantly for every single point.
And then kind of a follow-up bigger question on that. Let's say you have a bad game and let's say you're playing a tournament and you have like another game tomorrow or something like that.
Mhm.
How do you have a short-term memory and reset and hit the next game and try to forget the past game?
I always tell all my athletes to write some sort of mantra statement, some sort of positive self-talk statement, basically saying to themselves, I am not my past performance. I am not my future performance because you can't tell the future. I am my present performance. So just because I had a bad match yesterday, or even because I had a bad match 2 hours ago,
Mm.
does not mean that that match solidifies my ability to perform. So it's like a positive self-talk mantra statement to look to more of the present mind rather than the past mind.
Gotcha. No, that makes a lot of sense. So the follow-up to that question was big wins. So you had another post on your Instagram talking about, and I think probably related to those ratings, those UTR ratings. If you're going up against someone and you're almost too cocky. You see this a lot in sports, like sports teams, like when the quote unquote better team almost plays down to the level of the other team and they end up getting beat. Uh,
Yep.
so how can you uh make sure that doesn't happen essentially?
The biggest thing that I always tell sports teams, athletes, solo athletes is it comes down to, from my professional opinion, it comes down to respect.
Mm,
Where if you treat absolutely every opponent with the same respect that you would treat a professional, your level of tennis does not waver based off of the external factors of, oh, I'm better than this person, or oh, this person's better than me, so I got to try harder. It comes down to solo performance. So it comes down to just the level of respect that you have for opponents. And The most recent thing I've seen recently, now I'm not a big soccer guy or football guy,
Hmm.
but I just in the World Cup we saw Portugal tie with DR Congo, with Dominican Republic, or yeah, of Congo, and Portugal is an unreal team. Congo, I think, just made it to the World Cup, and this was the first game. And I don't know the players, and I don't want to say anything, but
Yeah.
it almost seemed like Portugal thought that they were so good, and they ended up tying with Congo because they didn't expect them to be good.
Right. Right.
And it drops their performance when they lose that respect or they lose that expectation. So the best advice that I give everybody is that when you walk on the court, no matter who's on the court, who's on the field, they deserve there to be there just as much as you do. So
Sure.
you treat them with respect, which then in turn keeps your mind mentally focused. Take it seriously.
Sure. That kind of reminds me too of like kind of a different example, but there was a baseball player. There was a pitcher who I forget. I think it was one of those situations where like they ran out of pitchers and had to have like a first baseman pitch or something like that.
Uh,
And like they're pro baseball players, so they're good, but like the way that first baseman's throwing the ball is way different than the pitcher
yeah,
throwing the ball. And some of the batters actually had a hard time hitting it because they were like, "What the heck is this guy? How is he throwing?" Like they're not used. So like that could even be an example too of like uh give respect because like it could be just totally different style of play or whatever. Yeah.
it could be a different style of play. They might have walked up to home plate going, all right, I'm ready. Like now is my time to absolutely knock one out. Like this
Yeah.
guy's not a pitcher.
Yeah.
Sure, he can throw fast, but whatever. And then the ball comes and they're just expecting an easier pitch. And regardless of if the guy threw a good pitch or not,
Yeah.
the level of respect or the mental expectation that they had prior to swinging
Sure.
is exactly what caused it to be harder.
Sure. Sure.
So yeah, like
Yeah.
you gotta treat everybody. If they're on the field, you treat them with respect no matter what.
Totally. Totally. No,
Yeah.
that's cool. Um, so you mentioned a couple drills so far. Do you have
Mhm.
any other favorite go-to like for tennis players, I guess in particular, or anybody, like cues or tips or tricks that you like seem to come back to every single time for some of your players for like mental performance?
Yeah, I love imagery and visualization.
Cool.
Absolutely love it. I think that that is such a hidden skill that people just don't use. And I always like to use the word frou-frou or out there or things like that, that people believe in this type of stuff. But it's like if you can imagine yourself actually doing something, whether that's a serve, a free throw, a pitch, absolutely, even lifting. If you want to like, if you're going for a max lift, like, whatever it is, if you can visually see yourself completing that task, and
Mhm.
you can see yourself, your body moving in a certain way. Your mind controls your body. So if your mind fully believes that it can do something, obviously within realm, I'm not going to walk out and deadlift 1,000 pounds tomorrow just
Sure.
because I think I can.
Sure.
But if I'm going for a max lift of 5 pounds, 10 pounds, or I'm going for a serve, and my mind can visually see myself succeeding, my mind will naturally tell my body exactly what it needs to do to complete that goal. And there's so many studies and there's so many different, cases where sports psychologists have used this with pro athletes. And the findings are astounding, like a 60%, 70% success rate when athletes visualize doing something prior to doing it. So that's my favorite thing to do with athletes. People in the beginning don't understand it. And then over the course of time, they're like, oh, I visualized myself playing well today, and I actually played really well. I think that really helped. And then I find them doing it on their own, which is awesome.
That so I've heard and I believe it and I'm into it like the
Yeah.
imagery and visualization. What I often find is tricky for me is like from like a tactical standpoint, like how do you plug that into like a program for someone? Do you like all right visualize for like 5 minutes before the game or like do you give them like cues and like how to use it?
So the way I practice it when I'm on court with an athlete, I'll have them, usually this comes with serving because it usually visualization is the best thing when it comes to controllables,
Yeah,
right? I can't control what the other player on the court is gonna type of shot they're gonna hit to me.
yeah.
So I can't really control what it's gonna look like me receiving a ball. But when it comes to those static movements, a serve, a free throw, let's say a QB throwing a ball, those type of visualizations where you're in complete control. I'll have them. stand on the line at the baseline. This is for tennis. Stand on the baseline. I'll say, all right, what type of serve do you want to hit? And they'll say, flat serve T. That's just like a type of serve.
Okay.
And I'll have them sit there for like 3 minutes, standing there with their eyes closed and visually looking and like thinking about their serve, what their arm looks like, what their toss looks like, how high the ball is going. What do you feel in your legs? Are you loading power into your legs? Do you feel it in your feet? And then I'll have them do this. And regardless if they make it or not, I'll have them do it again and do it
Yeah.
again so that they can start to visually imagine themselves doing it more often. And
Sure.
we hear this all the time in the mental performance space where I used to do this before I went to go play tennis. I would watch YouTube videos of Roger Federer all the time.
Yeah.
And I would be like, oh, I want to play like that. And I noticed that once I started watching videos of other players play, my tennis got better because I would imagine myself on center court or hitting that type of shot. And I'd be like, I can't believe I just hit that. Not because I didn't know how to or
Yeah.
anything. It's because I truly believed it because I visualized myself doing it.
Totally. No, that makes a lot of sense. And that was one thing I struggled as a triathlete with swimming was form. The more videos I watched of really good swimmers' techniques, I started to like make I'm like, oh, this that position, I could kind of like see myself. It makes more sense.
Exactly. If you see it, you have to believe that you can do it. And then when you make the image in your head, you don't use somebody else other than yourself.
Sure.
So you're almost like a third person type of visualization where you see yourself swimming or you see yourself doing that stroke perfectly or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you take yourself out of it and you watch yourself do it, and then that's how it works.
It's I feel like it's hard. It requires practice. It's tough.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely requires practice. It requires, and especially, I was a little kid that didn't have I had a short attention span. So if somebody told me, hey, sit down for 10 minutes and visualize, I'd be like 3 minutes in, I'd start to think about other things. So you do it in short bursts.
Sure.
I don't force it on my athletes to do it long periods of time until they're ready.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, short bursts right before an action on a tennis court, on a field, doing whatever, right before you do it, spend 2, 3 minutes visualizing it, then practice it.
Very cool. Love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Um, so getting into a little bit of the nuts and bolts of kind of like of your business and everything. Or actually, sorry, one more question.
Yeah.
Any other, and this kind of I guess leads into the next thing, but any other common like misconceptions or myths that you hear about whether like performance coaching or like mental health or kind of like the mental performance coaching, any things that you hear and why they're not necessarily true.
Yeah, no, I think the biggest thing that I hear all the time is that athletes don't need to have a problem to go seek a mental performance coach.
Sure.
They don't need to be struggling with anger on court. They don't need to be the most anxious person before competition. Unlike the psychology world that we've been told of seeing a therapist or seeing a psychologist of when you're struggling, when you're feeling sad, when you're anxious, when it comes, which is all very important, but when it comes to like sports psychology, if you just want to be mentally stronger on court, even if you are pretty mentally strong, but you think you have more in there, see somebody. I think the stigma around sports psychology and mental performance always has a negative one to say, oh, you're seeing a sports psychologist. What's wrong with you? Are you okay? Like, what's wrong? No, there's absolutely nothing wrong.
Hmm.
I'd actually commend those people more because they're seeking to get better
Right.
rather than that they're have a problem with themselves.
Right.
So I think that's the biggest thing that I always tell people is like, you don't have to have a problem to see me. You just have to want to get better, and this will absolutely work, and you will get better. So stop thinking that you seeing me means you have a problem. That's
Totally.
probably my biggest thing.
I almost feel like in 2026, like if I hear, I mean maybe I'm biased, but like if I hear someone's like working with a sports like mental performance coach, I'm like you're going about you're taking your sport seriously. Like you're really like making sure you're gonna perform the best. Like
Oh yeah.
that's almost how I feel. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. You're doing that. You're probably gonna do awesome. You're probably crushing
And,
it.
and I wish that more people would see it that way. And
Yeah.
I think that it's slowly changing and it's slowly turning into that where they see it as just another avenue to success. I always talk about the three pillars of performance is natural athletic ability, so talent, physical ability and training, and then the mental performance. And every time people always just think about the other two. It's like, oh, are you talented or are you physically capable of doing it? But nobody thinks, hey, like, can you mentally do this? Like, can you mentally hold yourself on? And we've seen people crumble in sports all the time. Literally every single day you turn on any sort of ESPN, you turn on any game. The most common thing among all those players is the mental performance aspect. Everybody's got a brain, everybody's anxious, everybody wants to win, everybody's got pressure on them. So that's the most common ground. So I hope people see it as important as going to the gym or as getting on the court or getting in the pool, whatever it is. It's just as important.
Well, I think to further that too, like all the best of the best, like the LeBron James, the Kobe Bryants, the Jordans, the Tom Brady's, they
Mhm.
all were super dialed in with that. So
Yeah.
it's like look at those guys. It's like
Like
they're
if they're
visualizing, yeah, like,
yeah, if they're doing it, why shouldn't you be doing it?
exactly. So yeah, that was great, great answer. So to kind of segue into kind of what how you so I looked at your website, which is fantastic, by the way. Like how do you help people? Like what are some of the avenues people can go to go to you for you to help them?
So naturally, the best way that I help people is one-on-one sessions.
Mhm.
I do that fully over Zoom. So I meet with people, find a time, and I go over it. And it's a program where I take them through the aspects of sports psychology, where I start from the beginning, kind of figuring out what they're dealing with, what advantages, what benefits they have, and then what things we need to work on. And then I tailor all the mental performance training for that person. So it's not just your bread and butter. Here's the plan. This is what we do. This is the reason why I got all my degrees is that I can change it, move it around, figure out what it's going to be, talk through things. So the best way is usually one-on-one training. I also created a mental performance program specifically for tennis players where they can it's like a classroom style program that people purchase. It's fully online, it's fully self-paced, where I have lectures, cheat sheets, worksheets that people can purchase on doing it on their own time. It is specific to tennis,
Mhm.
just because that's my niche. And then I do group shots with a bunch of different athletes. So I'll have people come into the Zoom. I'll do basically a lecture. Then we'll have very interactive, maybe some interactive skills training, some dialogue, and things like that. And then lastly, I just wrote an ebook on really tennis, more so on the tennis aspect, the strategy of tennis. And I just released that a couple of weeks ago on my website as well. So there's multiple ways that I can work with people.
Very cool. Awesome. And at a minimum, give you a follow on Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. Please, that would help me. That would help me a lot. Maybe as long as some people learn one or two things from me, or maybe something I said, I'm happy. I'm very happy.
Cool. All right. So last couple questions. Any events or anything coming up in the future that you're excited for?
Geez, I might be doing a workshop with a college team in Oregon, which is super exciting.
Cool.
I love working with college athletes, especially in a group scenario, working on the communication, the team aspects. Continuing my business. I mean, you know what it's like to run a business, so it's a full-time grind. So I love it and it's amazing. And then I've been training, so I might start playing tournaments again. Even at the ripe age of 31, I think I could still compete with these young kids. So I don't want them to think that just because I'm old that I'll roll over and lose. So I'm just super excited, maybe playing some tennis, continue the business and continue working. I love it. So.
That's awesome. And any other, I know you talked about the website and some of the other things you offer already, but anything or anyone else you want to plug into or shout out?
Absolutely. People that have helped me in the past, obviously I went to Pacific University where I had some amazing mentors. My one mentor name is Dr. Tamara Tasker, unbelievable sports psychologist, and she was my mentor. So she's amazing. She's based in Oregon. I would like to shout out my girlfriend. She is the editor of all my videos on Instagram. So if you think that I edited all those, I appreciate it. I film them, I come up with the script, I record it. She's the editor, so if anybody has any good comments for the editing skills, that's all her. That's not me.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah,
That's the hardest part. That's hard work doing the editing.
it's hard. It's hard work. I see she's got it. She's editing it, And I'm just like, all right, what can I do for you now? Like you're doing so much for me. What can I do? I just want to help out. So shout out to her for helping me out with that.
That's awesome. Cool. My final question is kind of basically if you have like a favorite quote or a mantra or a favorite saying. But this is the way I describe it. So you're living in California right now.
Hmm.
What's the major highway you live near?
I-5, so the five.
I-5. Okay, so you get a billboard on I-5 for 24
Hmm.
hours. You get a billboard for the day.
Hmm.
And basically, the idea is like you want to say something to your community, to your local
Hmm.
community. So you can put whatever you want on the billboard. People have said some really creative things. And obviously, I'm asking you to think on your feet here. But
Uh,
some people have said like I'm going to put a picture on it. I'm going to put this on it. But a lot of people will say like, all right, here's a favorite quote or mantra or saying that they like.
oh God, ooh, that's a good question. I wouldn't put myself on there. I would probably put some sort of inspirational image on there or something like that. And then I have two quotes. I'm stuck between two quotes.
Okay.
The first one is I used to write this down at a home gym at my parents' house when I was growing up. And I had a whiteboard and I used to write it down. It's from the Navy SEALs. It's a quote from the Navy SEALs down here. And it says, I persevere and thrive under adversity.
Nice. Okay.
And I love that quote because when we're dealing with challenges or we're really struggling with something, that's where we get to learn who we actually are.
Yeah.
That's when we get to put our own minds and our own bodies at the test, and that's how we get better is under challenges.
Yeah.
So absolutely love that one. And then I coined this one. Now I haven't trademarked it, but I love it more than anything is complacency is the killer of success.
Hmm.
When we get relaxed, when we get happy with where we're at, when we sigh a breath of release or of relief, that's exactly when our progress stops. So I talk to my athletes all the time is that when you're playing well and you're winning and you're at the finish line, do not stop. The minute you relax is the minute people start getting better. You start losing it, it starts slipping out of your hands. So probably those two. But I love complacency as a killer of success. It's my
That's
favorite one.
that's fantastic. Those are two great quotes. Love
Yeah.
it. Great job. Good stuff. Cool. Well, awesome. Thank you, Connor. Thanks
I
so much for being
appreciate
on.
it.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. This is awesome. Just love to chat about it. And yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
absolutely. Very good. And Roadie Strength, we are signing off.